start with a dark, eerie background music. Tonight, we dive into the heart of Texas, where the ordinary turns extraordinary, and every shadow hides a story. From the echoing depths of abandoned tunnels to the desolate stretches of backroads, join us as we unearth tales of terror and encounters with the unexplained. These are the stories whispered around campfires and passed down through generations, each one a chilling reminder that the line between the living and the unknown can be thin indeed. So buckle up, turn down the lights, and get ready to explore the dark side of Texas. You never know what might be lurking just around the bend. It all started innocently enough. A group of friends, bored in the stifling Texas heat, decided to spice things up. The answer? Exploring the abandoned drainage tunnels whispered to be haunted.
Armed with flashlights and teenage bravado, we descended into the damp darkness. The air hung heavy with mildew and something unsettling. The further we ventured, the more oppressive it became. Laughter turned to nervous whispers as the darkness pressed against our flashlights. Strange symbols appeared on the walls, twisted and grotesque. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream pierced the darkness. Panic surged as we fumbled to find our way back.
Lost and terrified, the group huddled together, their flashlights casting dancing shadows on the tunnel walls. They were trapped in a nightmare, and their only lifeline to the outside world was Sarah's ancient flip phone, a relic from a bygone era.
The irony wasn't lost on us. In an age of smartphones and instant connectivity, our fate rested in the hands of a device that could barely send a text message. The signal flickered, threatening to plunge us into complete darkness. The battery icon blinked ominously, a grim countdown to our isolation. Just when the last bar of battery life flickered and died, plunging them into absolute darkness, they heard it. A low growl, guttural and menacing, echoing through the tunnel. Fear, raw and primal, gripped their hearts. They were trapped, alone, with something sinister lurking in the darkness.
The darkness was absolute, the silence deafening. Then from the depths of the tunnel came the sound again, a slow, deliberate scraping like claws dragging across concrete. It was close, too close.
Paralyzed with fear, we huddled together, our breath catching in our throats. Every rustle of clothing, every whispered word seemed to amplify the terror that gripped us. We strained our ears, trying to identify the source of the sound, but the darkness held its secrets close. The scraping grew louder, accompanied by a rhythmic thumping, like a heartbeat pulsing through the tunnel walls. Then, silence. A silence so profound it was more unnerving than the sounds that preceded it. Just when they thought it was safe to breathe again, a blood-curdling scream shattered the silence. The scream echoed through the tunnel, bouncing off the walls, a chilling reminder that they were not alone, and whatever was hunting them was closing in.
Meanwhile, on a desolate stretch of Texas back road, another group of friends found themselves facing a different kind of horror. They were driving home from a concert in Austin, the adrenaline of the music still thrumming in their veins. The highway stretched before them, an endless ribbon of asphalt under a canopy of stars. The only sound was the low hum of the engine and the quiet chatter of friends lost in post-concert bliss.
As we rounded a bend, our headlights illuminated a lone figure standing in the middle of the road. A man, tall and imposing, his features obscured by the shadows of a wide-brimmed hat. He stood there, unmoving, like a phantom sprung from the asphalt.
The driver slammed on the brakes, the car skidding to a stop just feet from the stranger. He didn't flinch. He simply stood there, his gaze fixed on us, a chilling intensity in his eyes that sent shivers down our spines. Unease settled over the car like a shroud. Something about the man felt off, his presence radiating a sense of danger that was impossible to ignore. Fear hung heavy in the air, thick and suffocating. Jake hesitated, his hand hovering over the gear shift. The figure stepped back, melting into the shadows at the edge of the road.
Relief washed over us, followed by confusion. Who was that? We decided to put distance between us and the encounter.
Jake slammed the car into gear, speeding away, but we couldn't shake the feeling of being watched.
Suddenly, the headlights flickered, plunging us into darkness. The engine sputtered and died, the car coasting to a stop. Then they saw him, the stranger. He emerged from the shadows, backlit by the moon.
Terror gripped the group as the figures advanced, their movements predatory, their intentions unclear. The darkness seemed to pulse with a malevolent energy, the air thick with fear. They were trapped, outnumbered, with nowhere to run.
Thinking fast, I grabbed my pepper spray from my purse. It was a small comfort, a meager defense against the unknown, but it was all I had. My finger trembled as I pressed down on the nozzle, unleashing a fiery stream of self-defense into the night.
The figures scattered, their curses lost in the wind. The acrid smell of pepper spray filled the air, a temporary shield against the encroaching darkness.
Adrenaline surged through our veins as we scrambled out of the car, putting as much distance between us and the attackers as possible. We ran blindly, our lungs burning, our hearts pounding in our chests.
They didn't stop running until they stumbled upon a deserted gas station, its flickering fluorescent lights a beacon of hope in the desolate landscape. The sun beat down on the dusty trail, baking the earth and turning the air thick and heavy. A group of teenagers on a youth group retreat in San Antonio hiked through the wilderness, their laughter echoing through the ancient trees. They were a diverse group, brought together by their faith and a shared desire for adventure. Their youthful exuberance, however, was about to be tested.
The trail wound its way through dense undergrowth and towering trees, their branches intertwining overhead, creating a canopy that blocked out the sun. As we ventured deeper into the wilderness, the air grew cooler, the light dimmer. The carefree atmosphere that had permeated our hike began to dissipate, replaced by an unsettling stillness.
As dusk descended, casting long shadows across the trail, the group's unease grew into full-blown fear. The forest, once alive with the sounds of nature, fell deathly silent. Even the birds seemed to have fled, their songs replaced by an unsettling stillness.
They pressed on, their pace quickening, their senses on high alert. Every creak of a branch, every rustle of leaves sent shivers down their spines. They could feel eyes on them, watching their every move from the depths of the forest.
Then they saw them. Two glowing orbs, like embers in the fading light, appeared in the undergrowth. They blinked slowly, their malevolent gaze fixed on the group. Fear, primal and instinctive, surged through them. They were not alone.
The orbs flickered, then vanished as quickly as they had appeared, leaving the group in stunned silence.
Before they could rationalize what they had witnessed, the orbs reappeared, closer this time, their glow intensifying. They darted through the trees, flanking the group, their movements swift and unnatural. Panic surged through the group. They were surrounded, hunted by something they couldn't see, something that moved with an eerie silence. David, the youth pastor, tried to maintain order, his voice trembling as he urged them to stay calm.
But fear had taken root, twisting their logic, amplifying every sound, every shadow. They scattered, their instincts taking over, their flight or fight response kicking in. They crashed through the undergrowth, desperate to escape the unseen menace that stalked them.
They found themselves separated, their cries for help swallowed by the dense foliage. They were alone, at the mercy of whatever lurked in the shadows. The door creaked open, revealing a figure silhouetted against the dim light. A tall, gaunt man with greasy hair and piercing blue eyes. Just when they were about to give up hope, they heard a noise from inside. The distinct metallic clang of a wrench hitting the floor, followed by shuffling footsteps. As they knocked on the door, a cold wind whistled through the gaps, sending shivers down their spines. The silence was unnerving, broken only by the pounding of their own hearts. The mechanic shop stood like a forgotten sentinel against the star-filled sky. As the night deepens and the shadows grow longer, remember that these tales are just a glimpse into the dark heart of Texas. A reminder that even in the most familiar of places, the unknown can lurk just around the corner, waiting to reveal itself when we least expect it. Remember, sometimes the true monsters are just around the corner. Stay safe, stay curious, and keep exploring. But maybe stick to the well-lit paths. For those brave souls who dare to venture into the shadows, be warned. The darkness whispers and sometimes it speaks the truth.